Hello everyone, it's Comic Quarter 410. Today I'm going to be showing more of my EC Comics collection, and I'm going to be getting into my war comics. Most of my EC war comics are Two-Fisted Tales, which is a great series. It was the companion title to Frontline Combat. It was formerly published as Haunt of Fear, another amazing EC series, up to issue 18, where they changed the name of the book to Two-Fisted Tales. So this is technically your first issue of Two-Fisted Tales. As many of you know, it's pretty commonplace for publishers, especially EC, to do this back then. They would continue the numbering of an old series and just change the name of the book rather than start over with a new #1 issue. And there are two main reasons they like to do this. Unlike the two big publishers nowadays that like to nonsensically reboot their characters with a new #1 issue over and over every time we turn around to get a cheap, quick sales boost, they felt the opposite was true back then. They felt that high numbering indicated that a book had been around for a long time and had been successful, and it had stood the test of time, even though that was just an illusion and it was a brand new book. The other reason was the way comics were distributed back then. Every time a publisher would start a new series with a new #1 issue, they would have to apply and pay for a new postage permit for that series. And it was kind of a slick way for them to avoid paying the new postal permit fees. And that's why it was so commonly done back then. This series, as with most EC series, in my opinion, was way ahead of its time, way ahead of the curve. Most wartime comic books back then were very patriotic, had the hero punching out Hitler, punching out Nazis. And these books, my understanding is these books, Frontline Combat and Two-Fisted Tales, were amongst the first war comics to put a negative spin on war, to show the true horrors of war, and they could really be construed as anti-war material, and they're really great stories that hold up as a result, and very cool. This series was started, obviously, by William Gaines, but also by Harvey Kurtzman, who was the editor on the title. He did the lion's share of the covers. He wrote most of the issues. And my understanding was one thing he did that was uncommon in the EC art stable back then. He didn't give the artist the freedom to draw every issue, every story the way they wanted. He would actually lay out every story for every issue, and the artist had to follow his layouts, which his meticulous level of control over this book and Mad got this book behind schedule, and they changed it. I think it might have been 4 times a year, or every 2 months they would put it out. But it got so far behind schedule, they just changed the release schedule of the book because of it. I really love this title, and I'm close to having a full run of Two-Fisted Tales. I'm missing issue 20, 21, and 34, and then I'll have my run completed. And I hope to do that someday. But to get started, like I said, this is issue 18 of Two-Fisted Tales. Has some pretty major foxing down there. And other than that, it's not horrible. I'm just glad to have it. Most of the rest of these are in pretty nice shape. I theorize that kids didn't break these types of books out to reread over and over like they did with their EC horror and sci-fi books. And I'm glad to have these in the condition that I have them. This is Two-Fisted Tales 19, another Harvey Kurtzman cover. Pretty decent shape, some minor flaws on it. Two-Fisted Tales number 22. Pretty violent cover, like I said, showing the horror of war. That's not too kid-friendly. Great Harvey Kurtzman cover here to Two-Fisted Tales number 23. This is a pretty nice copy to boot. Very nice cover. Two-Fisted Tales 24, and you can really see the cartoony style he used on the characters on here. It's very, obviously very reminiscent of his Mad work, whereas Jack Davis, to me, would draw differently on his horror covers than he would on his Mad covers, but still great stuff nonetheless. This is one of my favorite Harvey Kurtzman Two-Fisted Tales covers to issue 25. And as you can see, Jonesy took one in the head. Pretty graphic cover for that time period. This is another great Harvey Kurtzman cover. A pretty famous one to Two-Fisted Tales 26. this cover's been ripped off and homaged a few times. Very, very nice looking cover, nice layout, and a pretty nice copy of it. Two-Fisted Tales number 27. Another Kurtzman cover. I like the color palette they used on that one. Two-Fisted Tales number 28. Still have Kurtzman on these. Number 29. You know, another cover with someone getting shot on it, which, you know, very uncommon back then. This is probably my favorite Two-Fisted Tales cover in existence by the late great Jack Davis. This cover was voted in Overstreet Price Guide by the advisors and industry artists and editors and writers and publishers. This was voted as the greatest war comic book cover ever done, and I kind of agree. Just a beautiful, beautiful cover. Glad to have this copy. It's a pretty decent copy as well. Two-Fisted Tales number 31. They did some Civil War issues, and my understanding is they plan to do 7 Civil War issues. It never got totally finished, but these issues are very cool. Two-Fisted Tales number 32. And this is a Wally Wood cover. Beautiful stuff. This one has a little bit of damage. Not too bad at all, though, but not quite as nice as the other ones. But just breathtaking cover. Wally Wood's probably my favorite EC artist. Two-Fisted Tales number 33. Another Wally Wood masterpiece. Great action cover. Fortunately, this has some writing and pen on it. I'd like to get another one of those, but what are you going to do? I don't mind the dating in pen or pencil. That doesn't really affect it too bad. In my opinion, it was commonplace, but some kids scribbled on that one a little bit, unfortunately. Two-Fisted Tales number 35. Like I said, I'm missing 34. This is, I believe this might be Jack Davis on this cover. I'm not sure. Could be wrong. This one has some condition issues. Two-Fisted Tales 36. We're on to the reformatting of the book from War Comics to Adventure stuff, and John Severin takes over on the covers here. He's also great. This one has some discoloration, but it's not too bad. Beautiful, beautiful John Severin cover here. I mean, this is a great one. Two-Fisted Tales number 37. He was awesome. So is his wife Marie. She's one of the few EC artists that's still around now. The new Two-Fisted Tales, issue 38. Another John Severin masterpiece. The spine's really rough on this one, but the cover presents nicely, and it's a beautiful cover. Two-Fisted Tales 39. Another stunner by John Severin. A lot of Indian and Aztec books. This one of the most underrated EC artists in my opinion, the great George Evans. This is the lone cover that he contributed to Two-Fisted Tales, and what a beauty it is. I love that cover. He was great. Great detail. Two-Fisted Tales number 41. Had Jack Davis finishing it up, and this is the final issue of Two-Fisted Tales. Pretty nice copy as well. I showed this recently. Picked up my first issue of Frontline Combat. I'm going to open that can of worms, I guess, start grabbing them when I see them. Got a pretty good deal on this recently. This is issue 13, and I had to buy it because of this gorgeous Wally Wood cover. And then, of course, this beat-up copy I showed I bought recently. This is the only issue of Crime Suspense Stories that I own. Issue 19. Pretty legendary Al Feldstein cover. The drowning cover that was used in the Senate hearings. Would like to get this in better shape, but like I said, this was less than $10, so I'm very happy to have it. But until next time, when I get back to, I'll either be showing my EC Panics and Mads, or I'll be showing my EC Sci-Fis. I will see you all then. Thank you as always for your time. I always appreciate you stopping by. Everyone take care of yourselves and enjoy your comics.